Good afternoon, Guy.
Afternoon.
Thank you for making time available for this conversation that we are about to have. For the introduction, can you just state your name, role, and connection to the Basil February repatriation process?
My name is Guy Redman. I'm the head of department for the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport in the Western Cape government. And we were tasked by the national government to fulfill the last leg of the repatriation program to assist families with the reburials of their loved ones.
Can you briefly reflect on what this repatriation moment means to you personally and historically? I would like your views on and comments on our trip to Bulawayo. You accompanied us on that historic and very special moment for our family. And can you reflect on the significance of that particular trip for me?
Yeah, the trip to Bulawayo was initially meant to make sure that the family's experience of this profound moment was problem-free. And we needed highest decision makers to accompany them. So the first family went without anybody from our province. And we were not quite comfortable with how their experience was. And for this one, I said it was the next two, because we had three for Western Cape. We need to accompany them. But I said, I am going to do the one with the February family. And one of the reasons for that is that I had already read up and understood the journey that the February family had already undertaken with this. And I needed to make sure that no matter what, this goes as smooth as possible. That was my mission. But obviously, when you get there and you be part of the experience that you are thinking you are just caretaking, it blows your mind, There we were with the brother of Basil, but the brother is in his 70s, but Basil is in his 20s, and trying to reconcile that we are here about a young man. He would have been this age now, but point is we are here about a young man who was very courageous, because as you are on this journey, you start thinking, what causes someone that young to make such difficult decisions to the point of being prepared to take up arms and also give of their life at that age? So that thought, it sat with me. That evening, that first evening when we were doing the orientation and meeting the team, is when it became most real. So while we were on the journey, flying through, coming in, you're thinking. But when we sat and when we listened to the team that is responsible for the exhumations and all of that, and then you start thinking, actually, this is about a person, about a human, a very courageous human who made a very difficult decision at some point. And you start thinking, oh my goodness, this is not just a technical exercise. So a lot changed for me there. What happened at the graveside then, as you know, was something else. The one thing that sat in my head was, the main thing I want is, one, nothing disturbs your experience. Two, that the grave that has been identified, meticulously so, is the actual grave. But the gift that Basil gave us, as you would recall on that day, where there was additional proof that we were not expecting, that label. To me, that was a gift. Because
the Paul Peterson label.
The Paul Peterson label.
Yes.
That was a gift, because I needed you to leave here knowing this is your brother, without a doubt. Because unlike other graves that we went to, this was an unmarked grave. The others, you could still see the names. So the family has that sense of, this is the grave.
Yes.
Because that was part of the exercise of getting the family to come and see the grave. before you exhume, because the journey has to be complete.
Yes.
And I don't think, I would have always felt something in my head if that label never popped up the way it did, because up until that point, it was a scientific exercise, a
Yes.
very well done scientific exercise by the team to pinpoint that grave based on all the work they had done over the years, the journey they traveled with you.
Yeah.
So that, to me, it was life-changing as well. It got me thinking a lot about how far we've come as a country. But whether do we forget too easily? Our country, we have a short-term memory loss like nobody's business. And the sacrifice that was made here, have we done right by it?
I'm going to come back to the issue of memory. Touching on when we flew into Bulawayo, when we met the missing persons task team
Yes.
at the hotel the evening that you referred to, I was fairly well prepared. But the emotions hit me so hard, if you may remember, that
yes.
evening, unexpectedly, because Basil died many years ago. And that emotional experience that I had during that meeting hit me unexpectedly. Unexpectedly. So that was a huge wake-up call. But the wake-up call for me was, this is part of the healing process.
Yes.
This wound is now being well and truly and thoroughly opened. And this is part of that. I want to ask you, there were some interesting moments that I experienced with you during this exhumation process and before, when we just entered the cemetery and we looked at the record book at the cemetery. But before the first ground were broken, the family was asked to break ground. And I was not prepared for that. That's another thing that
That
just
was my
hit me.
fault.
And then you said to me that I need to do the honors. But before that happened, there was this amazing experience of a praying mantis. And you pointed to that, and the entire team circled Basil's grave with the number on there as it reflects in the burial book. And you pointed out the praying mantis. And that was one of the memorable occasions for me. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
And how you
Yeah.
came to point that out to us?
Yeah, that was a surreal moment. That praying mantis has huge significance in different cultures for various reasons. But in the Nguni culture, which my mother comes from, the praying mantis, well, let me be specific, she's Mam Tembu. She's from the Tembu. And the praying mantis represents ancestors.
Right.
So whenever you see a praying mantis in the house, you don't touch it. It's just a confirmation that your ancestors are here.
Okay.
And it's a very special moment when you see one. And we found one, but it was not your normal green one. It was a very well camouflaged one with the grass that was sort of dry winter grass at the time.
Absolutely.
And we spotted it, and immediately those signs I was looking for, you remember, that we are in an unmarked grave. And I need sort of validation that this is it.
Yes.
And to me, that was the first sign. That is why I felt the need to point it out, that this is not just an animal that you are finding, an insect that you are finding here. This is actually a very profound moment.
Right.
That we need to reflect on, which you so gracefully then embraced, and then you picked it up and he took it out to safety. You saw one of the slashes that already injured it as well, the guys who prepared the land
clearing of the grave.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was very profound because it was almost a confirmation by Basil that you are right, I am here.
Yes.
You know, proceed.
Yes.
And that is how I was processing it mentally, because very profound. In my culture, praying mantis is special. You don't mess with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's linked to ancestors.
And then the ground was broken, and the digging started. And then we were kindly given leave by the missing persons task team to go and do the necessary
Yes.
at what would be
registrations.
our equivalent from South Africa at the Home Office,
Affairs.
Home Affairs office. And you accompanied us
Yes.
to that. And again, here I was confronted with unexpected circumstances about preparing Basil's death certificate and his reburial order. And there were some moments that you observed during that process. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so that process, to me, was a process that I thought would take much longer than it did. We did wait for quite a while. But when you walked in the building, you saw the various other clients waiting to be serviced. We got there, we waited our turn, and then we received the service by very meticulous people. The Zimbabwean registry is very meticulous.
Yes.
They are very good in their records management. But what I picked up, over and above her capability, because she was a very capable person who was leading us, the manager there, but she was a very kind person. She was a very kind person. She when she was briefed on why we are here, we were no longer a transaction. She then took you through the forms, and she would ask you questions, and you would write. And you remember that moment where, because the form is the form, it asks a question, the normal questions: where was he born, when did he die, and all of that. But what was his occupation? And that's when you hesitated. And he said he was unemployed. And she, paused a little bit, but then just launched into said freedom fighter. And you remember she didn't even give us a chance to consult, to say,
Correct.
yes, yeah, we agree, we
Yes.
don't agree. She went on and she, that was a very important moment, a profound moment, because here you've got someone who's expressing a great deal of empathy while offering a public service,
Yes.
and understands fully this mission that we are about.
Yeah.
And her articulation of what exactly was his occupation was perfect. Because he was a freedom fighter. That's why he was there. We couldn't put anything else. We could have said medical student, because he left as a medical student. But freedom fighter was the most important one,
Yeah. Then there was another moment in Bulawayo that stood out for me about your action. The morning when we left, before we left,
Yes.
you just casually told me that you went to go and say goodbye to Basil. Wow. Something that I wouldn't even have thought of,
Yeah.
What made you do that?
Yeah, I like I said, when it began, I was almost like a chaperone, But I really got into understanding the full complexity of this mission, the importance of this mission, and meeting Basil the way I did at the exhumation. When we left that day before, we just left. And that's not how you leave a grave, even though it's an empty grave.
Yes.
That was Basil's grave. And I felt I had some unfinished business, and in the morning, before I could go and meet you guys, I said, I need to go past the cemetery. And I stood there at the open grave. They hadn't come to fill the soil back in. And I said a short little prayer, and said goodbye, and I left. Because we know parts of Basil are still there,
Of course.
It will always
Indeed.
be his resting place, even if it's not the final.
Yeah.
But parts of him were still there, and I still owed that space and that place some form of respect.
Yeah.
So it was me paying my respects. The day before, I did not have an opportunity to put some soil into the ground. I did that, and I left. It was a very quiet morning, nobody at the cemetery. And I did that and I left, yeah.
Can you share a memory on reflection? Maybe share a short memory or feeling that humanized Basil or the journey that he was on. I know, though you never met him, you are now part of living his story. What does that living that story feel for you now? That very journey that you embarked on with us, you are now part of our family. You are now part of his story. Can you reflect and somehow humanize Basil February, even though you haven't met him?
Yeah, I actually met him. I strongly believe I met him.
Okay.
Yeah, through this experience we went through, not in the way you met him as his sibling. And it emphasized a number of things. When Basil left, there was a sense of urgency. And to me, that was a sort of a reminder that we need, because the mission is not complete. South Africa might be in a democratic dispensation now, but the things that caused Basil to make those courageous choices, risking his life, most of those things have not been attained. So we are dealing here with a person who, at a very young age, was able to understand the complexities of where our country found itself and make a very difficult choice. And to me, it's almost like we need to espouse that kind of values that he had. And the two values that always come to mind when I think about him is caring and courage. Caring and courage. He cared deeply about his family. It was not an easy choice. He cared deeply about his country. And for you to give of your life for anybody, there's got to be care. But to do it at such a young age, it takes a lot of courage. Not bravery, courage. And we need to try and take those learnings to everybody, not just the young people today. We need to bring back that value of care in society, where we look after each other. We need to bring back that value of courage in society, where nothing is impossible. Mm-hmm. If something is worth fighting for and dying for, take the action. Do it, And that's my biggest takeaway from Basil's very short life, is that we need to have courage. The challenges that we have require the urgency that they felt at that time. The mission is not complete.
Yeah. There's, from the family side, we embrace those values that Basil had. And we often speak, even on myself as his brother, Basil was also brutally honest. And we often try to evaluate that and say, was it a weakness of him? Because that type of approach very often doesn't make you very popular, and it can sometimes land you in a lot of challenging trouble. And Basil walked that path confidently. You know, is there any, if we speak about Basil's legacy and today's struggles or aspiration, is there anything about that you can maybe talk about? If we talk about Basil's legacy as such, you know, what is there that stands out for you about his legacy in today's, if you evaluate that today?
Yeah, I think his biggest legacy to me would be, no matter how old you are, take action. The choices he made, it's not fair for a child to have had to make those choices. I mean, he was in his early 20s, even though he's not strictly a child, but he is too young to have had to make those choices. But the situation was different, and it required that level. And I think now the learning that we should take from him is we must act. We have a lot of aspirations as a country. We have a lot of aspirations and dreams as people. But if we don't act on those dreams, they remain dreams. His action contributed to the freedom we have today. The choices he made, where he had this dream for what South Africa should be like, which was not what it looked like then. He was able to imagine that future that he thinks South Africa should have. And he believed in it so much that he felt it's not enough for me to imagine it, go to medical school and maybe make it real for my family. No. He felt it is a dream that every South African should live to experience and aspire to.
Indeed.
But most importantly, it was not going to happen without action. So to me, action is a very important thing we've got to do. Our dreams are wonderful, our aspirations are wonderful, but without the action, they remain just that, dreams.
This may be, in conclusion, Guy, I would like, maybe you can elaborate further on what you just said there, with a message of hope. The memory of Basil, the gratitude. We say that his sacrifice can never be forgotten. We say that has enough been done to remember him. And we may say that may his soul finally rest in peace on the soil that he fought for. What would be your message of hope today to our nation, to our youth, in respect of remembering Basil?
Sure, it's a tough one because there are just so many moving parts. You know, Basil espoused a very important capacity that causes hope to exist. Because you see, hope, I think Desmond Tutu's got a quote on that it allows you to see something that is not possible given the circumstances you are in, through imagining. He was able to see the South Africa we're in now. You've got to understand, and you were part of the struggle. At the time, you needed to have a very active imagination to think we would ever get here.
Indeed.
You know, he had that imagination. And that was what gave him the hope. And that is what we want South Africans to hold on to. We want South Africans to hold on to hope. Not hope word loosely used. We're talking about real hope that allows you, regardless of your circumstances, to see an alternate future for yourself. And two, to believe in your ability to achieve that future. That's what Basil gave us. At the age of, when did he leave? 22 years old?
When he died?
No, when he left.
20.
20. At that age, to be able to have such an active imagination, to think your action is going to cause the shift to what you see in your mind should be. And look what happened. No matter what, his actions, together with other members of the initial Luthuli detachment and other many waves of struggle post that, are what caused what we have today. You cannot deny that. But he needed to act on it. He needed to have an imagination. He needed to see where he was going. And to me, it was very clear for him. To me, the only thing that made him hesitate was his family, because he had a very caring side. And that would be the only thing that would cause him to think twice about, should I not? But whether he knew what the South Africa looks like and whether this was attainable, it was very clear to him that it was attainable and it was worth fighting for. And if South Africans could locate themselves like that within any struggles they have in life, that one, the struggle does not define me, and two, I have it within myself to achieve this future that I imagine for myself. He achieved it. We are living it. We would never be here. I mean, we take these things for granted. These streets, we would never walk on these streets. We're doing it today out of actions of people like him, ordinary people. Ordinary person was able to do what he did. And South Africans must also have that I don't need to be anybody for me to be able to imagine my futures, but also act to achieve the future that I imagine for myself.
Guy, thank you so much for your time.
Man.
And
every time I learn something new about Basil.